I said that I bought it in Cairo from a sailor.
And how old is the sail?
It's about 100 years maybe.
Okay.
But he told me it's 100, but I don't know if it's 100. And these works are the material that I bought to adjust on it, because normally I paint directly on the sail, but because I have problem with my leg now, I cannot bend well, and we have to do this quite fast. So I thought it would be nice to add another material, and we have a nice color scheme.
I see you brought some
Yes,
green
and it's
fabric.
very nice to have different materials next to each other. So, but although textile is not what my specialty, or I don't work with textile, but it was an interesting manner to paint on it. And it's about the globe and the trade, and the salt trade and the slave trade and the trade of different kinds of commodities that we have now. I was even thinking of making the trade of steel, but we don't have space anymore.
And here we have some birds again.
Yes, because you know the birds are the free people who fly without boundaries. Because you know when you have the sail which is up in the air, the only thing it encounters also is the wind and the birds.
And this one you brought here for us?
Yes, it is going to be on the other side, and it's about the conflict of the human history and how the ear has heard about it and how there is suffering in the world, etc. And I'm going to put that on the other side because, of course, all this trade that is done, the salt and the papyrus and the cotton, it has a lot of human suffering involved. Because those who cultivated them, they had a lot of history.
And the ear is something, it's a kind of a special means for you.
What?
The ear. The
yes,
human
because
ear.
we hear from the ear, and of course I don't hear well, so it's a very important phenomenon.
Yes.
Because the whole world functions around hearing, although it's the most primitive of all organs. These are from 92.
Yes.
And they are cutouts. And this is also 1990. It's another way of putting your thoughts together in a story. And life is a story. And the story can be told in many factors and in many points of views. Well, these are stories I write. I went to the catacombs in Alexandria, and this is drawings from the catacomb.
This is a cutout in space.
Yes, this is done. It is a story of Nîmes, and it's the promenade dans l'inconscient, and it has some part of it comes from Genève's balcony about the revolution that is being made. The important thing is the concept of the city of Nîmes, how it started with Rome, with the Roman Empire, and how it changed, you know, it was the battle of Actium, etc. So it links many histories together. Well, this is the god of underworld, the crocodile, and it's very interesting that the Romans are very Catholic, you know, so there is a whole gap of history. And this is a promenade by the Queen, by Cleopatra and Antony in Fayoum, you know. And this is the people of Nîmes walking in procession, you know, the people who work in the factories, where the factory work finished, you know, because they had the cotton and the cotton was imported. And then they had the Spanish influence, you know, with the matadors, etc. And the silk trade, you know, the making of the silk. Okay, I was going to say that Tagore is an Indian who is very famous because he's the first Asiatic who has won, or the first Indian who has won the Nobel Prize. It was in 1913. He got it because of his poem called Gitanjali. Anyway, before that he had written another poem, another play called The Post Office, which he wrote in 4 days or 4 hours. And it's very interesting that he wrote this post office because he was one of those men who loved. And he felt that the revolution or the change that the world was going to be based on in India was not by nationalism, but the love of art, the love of literature, the love of identity, the love of theatre. When he won his Nobel Prize, he went to Shantiniketan, where his father had also had land, and he decided to make a school because he felt that education was the most important phenomena. And then he made the school for art and literature and theatre, and the school was very interesting because it was very Platonic. He would give classes under the trees, in the open air, rather in closed doors. And you know, because in the past people used to take these things and you know, the actors were strong. And this is the way the Asiatics played theatre or opera. If you went to a Tibetan opera, the same person would be acting all kinds of characters. So this is the same concept, you know, that the actor who is one person, which is Tagore, and he takes over and they are his images. You know?
Can you explain?
For example, the grey one is Tagore.
That's Tagore with the beard.
Yes.
And who's the one with the red shirt?
I don't know. It may be another person. This is the little boy.
That's a little boy.
Yeah, the long one, I think it's the sage who came. And that one, I don't know. Maybe the father or the uncle. And that maybe one of them may be the milkman.
So these are the letters, obviously, the boy has written.
No, it's just the letters of, I wrote these letters about my own concept.
And then we have this little mobile piece here.
Yes, because you see, these are different interpretations of how to see for the play to play, the post office. So all this is one concept, you know, it's not. This is to play, this is the drawing, this is not. It's one piece, and the title of the piece is Play to Play.
It's a really, monumental piece you showed in a former school there in East
Yes, I was in the big school, so I thought how I will fill the room, and because it was 20 meters by 20, that makes 200 meters.
Yeah, amazing.
Yes, so and I decided that I should get sails, because I thought that's the way it would cut through the room. Because if I only did drawings, it will not be, and the sail will give really the feeling of movement, the feeling of the trip, the feeling of being on the sea. is all about the Ottoman Empire, about the slave trade, how the Indian Revolution started with the salt. Yeah. And it's a very beautiful, I thought, construction, and it's very reasonable, and it's not expensive. Yeah. And it gives a whole concept, and it also fits the concept of, the piece of the weaving of history. And it needed a lot of salt. So all these preservations, and how the salt trade changed the food habits of the world, and preservation, because people could not preserve food before. And so they used to eat nothing for the winter because there was no vegetable. So they started preserving all the vegetable foods and all this. And this is from salt, which is used in aquariums and in the colored salt.
And here we have the red thread. Here we have the red thread. So there's a white thread, how you connect. So this is the line of salt?
Well, no, just making it more circular, so that things become more focused. Otherwise, this bread and salt is very important for the human mind. When we talk of life, we speak about eating bread and salt.
Yes, that's right. There's a ritual even. Yeah.
Salt is the bread of life. Birds, one of the oldest living creatures believed to be from the family of dinosaurs, they fly freely in the sky as well as on the ground. They can walk as well as they can fly. As they move freely and live freely within their own needs and natural laws, it makes them the only species who has control both on the sky and on land. The traders are people who travel and barter for goods, and those barters eventually grow into trade, exploitations, and maybe exploitations for further trade. There were slave trade routes, cotton routes, tobacco, sugarcane, textile, coffee, etc. Traders eventually think of the benefit of their country rather than the benefit of the world as a whole. As the survival of one capitalist or another, as one has said, is the survival of the fittest. Capitalism in its most raw form is to leave all barriers towards a free trade.